Thank you for joining us. There's a lot of you right on time. I love that. Our focus here really is to talk to the art community, bring together incredible talent, artists, designers, fashion designers, which is my background, creators, and talk about how all those worlds relate to one another. So let's jump into Gina, okay? Some have called your body of work, pun intended, so many different adjectives, from seductive to vexing to kitschy to grotesque to unsettling. How do you, Gina Beavers, categorize your work?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I, for a long time, thought I was making kind of elegant work. Like, I thought, you know, I would try really hard to make things elegant, and they would sort of end up having this other history or this kind of look that I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over. I think a lot of that funkiness comes from the process, where I'm just like using really thick acrylic. So that makes it really difficult to control. And so it kind of, but at the same time, I'm trying to make it look really realistic and look like photographs I've seen. So that tension between like the funkiness of the material and the realism creates kind of space of like uncanniness or weirdness. Yeah.
Is some of your work, I can see glimpses behind you.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Just want to take that in for a second.
Thanks.
So I just mentioned, but for those just joining, Gina Beavers, incredible artist, and, you know, using social media and online imagery as kind of the source of all of these beautiful paintings you're making. You seem very obsessed with sort of cultural trends, whether it's food that people are eating, makeup tutorials, lips, all these kinds of things. Talk to us about why these topics and how you're choosing them.
Yeah, they each sort of body of work kind of has its own aspect that I'm really interested in. I think I started with food paintings because I love this idea that people were posting pictures of their food, either food that they had made or food that they had, you know, had at a restaurant. And in this way, they're kind of showing off, I guess, because the platform itself kind of has that showing off quality. So I thought that was really interesting, but then they're also really composing their images, their photographs in this way, like either from food photography or like some knowledge of still life, you know, so making these amazing compositions. So I was interested in kind of the everyday creator of these really beautiful images, but also this idea of kind of broadcasting, you know, your life and how great you are. And then I think with tutorials, I really like the idea that the paintings are kind of drawing and painting themselves, because I'm taking from these like step-by-step things with brushes and pencils. And, you know, I would follow a bunch of different accounts that do makeup tutorials, and the conversations between the makeup artists would sound like conversations between painters. So I think I have like an interest in these kind of like other communities of creators that are not directly fine art, and how those relate more to fine art, you know.
I love how you comment on our show off culture. It seems very much to be the essence of social media.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, everything has that frame. That's why it's like sometimes so hard when you try to be really earnest and say something like really real, because then it's like it's still within that frame of like how great I am. So it's hard. I mean, I'm a part of it, you know, like
I think we're all part of it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And I think there's also a redundancy to the types of content that we see. So when somebody is authentic, it really stands out.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's definitely true too. There's like all of these kind of enforced rules, you know, but it's also weird. Like there's this great comedian on Twitter. Well, she's a great comedian, but Lori Kilmartin, who said Twitter is like half people being shameless and the other half people trying to shame everyone else. So it's like this weird mix of just shamelessness and also self-consciousness, you know, at the same time.
That's really, I love it. Okay, so I have to just jump in with one of your specific works, Cake, because I cannot get the image ever since I was introduced to it, which is fairly recently, I will admit. And for those who do not know this work, Cake, it's a nude male lying down with a slice of his backside, and it looks like a piece of cake ready to be consumed. So once you've seen it, as I said, you can't get it out of your head. Tell us, how did this come to be? Is there a metaphor here?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Well, so that is a found image, like a meme from about 10 or 15 years ago. And at the time, I was really drawn to it. I think it was like 2014 when I actually made the painting, but I think I'd had the image like in a file for a really long time. And I had all this suspicion about images, like around that time. Like you look at it, you don't know what's real and what's not real.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, that painting is like surreal. Like it's in that category, like surrealism. The funny thing is, like when I make it and it appears 3D and then it goes back onto the internet and people post it, like I've seen people in the comments being like, what is that? Because they can see that texture, and like, so it is messing with that idea of what's real, what's not real. What's so funny though, this week, or maybe last week, this whole cake meme went around where it's like a lotion bottle that's cut in half. It turns out it's a cake. It's like all these objects that someone, I don't know if you've seen this video, but it's like a full range of objects that turn out to be cake. And I was like, oh my God, I was thinking about that, you know, that image. So that's something that goes hand in hand with social media and the internet, that kind of real, surreal. Yeah.
So when you say you saw this image, you saw a photograph that then inspired you to create a painting. And I'm over explaining because I think some people may be getting an introduction to you for the first time.
Right.
Process.
Like sort of like a meme, you know, these like kind of visual jokes. So it's a photograph, but it might be, photoshopped.
Right.
You know, so, but I've made a bunch of paintings of different kinds of memes because I just had this idea that like, would a painting read the joke in the same way as a meme does? Like, would you be able to read it? You know, so that was kind of in that vein. Yeah.
It's incredible. It makes an impression. I love it.
Thanks. Also, some people don't know. I mean, some people think it's a woman. Some people think it's a man. It's kind of gender neutral. It's like, it's in that zone. So I'm happy to hear you thought it was a man, because I've had a couple people say that too. So yeah.
I did.
That's awesome. No, I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. So another aspect to your work, in addition to some of these, you know, Cake, as a very straightforward title of that particular work, is that you've kind of mastered just the naming of your art. And as we're talking about memes, hashtags, you've now inspired a whole world of memes online or are part of bigger hashtags taking place. You're part of the food porn hashtag. You are, you know, you name things just in a way, cupcake palette, eggplant emoji. Are the clever names part of the art, are part of the work?
I think for a long time, I just took either I would take from the comments from an image. So if I found something on Instagram, I would take one of the comments as the title, or sometimes I would take like what it said about the photograph as the title. So for instance, I had this ice cream painting.
Yes.
And it was tagged with "The Life I Deserve" as the title. So, you know, most of those I just take from the internet because I think they are so much more on point in terms of describing what's going on in the image.
Yes.
So I also really like these kind of combinations of words that are sort of an internet phenomenon as well, like ambitious, was one that I found. Anytime there's like a popography was the name of a show that I did. These kind of combinations of words, which I think get to that like layered quality of being online, where all these meanings are kind of, coming together. Yeah, I just think it's more descriptive. Yeah.
It's brilliant because you're sort of joining a larger community that already exists online. These hashtags are sort of aggregating great material. And I just love that you're part of those conversations, and also seems like a great business strategy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did go looking one time, like Smoky Eye. I Googled Smoky Eye, and they're all of the tutorials, but then my painting is in the middle. And so you're just like looking along and you see like real people, and then you see a painting of a tutorial. And it's just sort of back in there in this weird way, which is fun.
I love it. And that really is a perfect segue into my next question, which is how do art, beauty, fashion, how do they impact each other? Because you've now infiltrated through your art a beauty tutorial, world online. So how do you relate to the other?
Yeah, well, industries? I mean, I think they're, it's weird because I really love like fashion, but I've never really been able to afford. It's more like fast fashion for me, and I love like makeup tutorials and making paintings, but like I don't wear a lot of makeup, So I'm very much like an observer in a certain kind of way on the outside. Mm-hmm. I do think that the internet and specifically social media has broadened all of these ideas about fashion and beauty, and become so much more inclusive because people are making their own content, their own products. It's like so individualized.
Yes.
So I think that has been like a huge, important shift. And I also think because of that, there are a lot of images of the body because like right now we're both like holding or near our screens.
Yeah.
And kind of doing it ourselves. We don't have like a cameraman or anything.
No.
And so there's all of these images of kind of like segments of the body, like cropped body, because people are doing it themselves. They're their own model.
Yes.
So like your hands, your feet, your thighs, you're doing, so I think this kind of cropped body thing is everywhere online, and it's a part of the technology, so it's limited, but it's also awesome because you could just do everything solo.
So am I hearing that you're sort of interested in exploring imagery as it relates to our new reality of being cropped? Like, is that like, if we were to think about future works from you, are you exploring that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these play with that, and using kind of digital technologies as far as like Photoshop and, on Instagram, you can do like collages and things like that where you crop. I'm really interested in that. I mean, I think there's a certain anxiety about the cropped body because it's like, we know that that's not our whole self.
Yeah.
Or we're not looking at a whole self. It's sort of a metaphor for like, just a segment of what we're showing. So I don't know, it's interesting to me for sure.
Any new themes that have sort of arisen, during this time of COVID and Black Lives Matter movement, like that, are you seeing new imagery that's kind of maybe you might think of taking your work a different way?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I was working on this show like in January that was going to open in April, and now it's going to open in September. So, and I've sort of gone back to like look at the work and think of it in terms of, say, specifically, and just kind of thinking like it relates.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the work has to do with kind of the self. So for instance, I've been working on these, here, I'll show you. These kind of, this is just me painting a Leaf Montague painting on my cheek.
Wow.
But, this idea, the more self-referential these become, the more it kind of is what we're all, going through, which is just like, just being alone, basically.
Yeah. This is
So,
incredible.
thanks. I don't know if you can.
Oh my God, this is so fun. So we're actually getting a sneak peek.
Yeah, this one still needs like a lot of work, but I was noticing that I have another image that is like a woman, well, it's me holding like a skull between my legs, like a skull crotch is what I call it. And that's something that I came up with earlier, but in a weird way anticipates this kind of like being inside, like I'm clearly indoors.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like weird things like that where I feel like, no, this is, and I don't know if it's just because COVID has really just meant, for people who are fortunate enough to not have been affected directly, that you're just online constantly, so I think the fact that my work is kind of about being online already. Yeah. So, and then you also asked about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I've just been doing a lot of thinking about my influences, how much I've been influenced by African American artists, Sam Gilliam, Faith Ringgold, artists and painters that really push the form.
Yeah.
And also thinking about, we talk about like food photography or makeup tutorials, like these worlds are also really impacted by a lot of appropriation of Black culture. So
yeah,
I'm interested in that. So I don't know.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love I love everything you're saying, and I'm also so excited that you just showed us. I like want to walk around your entire studio right now.
Okay, yeah.
Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm in Newark, New Jersey. I'm lucky enough to have I have two spaces. So I actually have two assistants who are working in a large space upstairs, so that they're able to be distanced and then I can be distanced from them. So that's what we're doing right now. This is a piece, I don't know if you can see here.
I can see the eyes. It's amazing. And that's one of the makeup tutorial pieces.
Yeah, this is a makeup, like an eye makeup. And then this is a large.
I have to ask you if you ever personally wear lipstick, because you said you're a minimalist with your makeup, but your lips are a constant motif.
Yeah, I know. I'm really bad. I mean, part of it is just being an artist where you're just in your studio. It's like, who's going to see you, most of the time. So I don't do very much, but I really like the lips. They have a lot of resonance in terms of like a feminine kind of symbol. I mean, if I'm like, being vague about that, but I mean, lips are lips, like,
yeah.
So I also really like the eyes, because the eyes are sort of looking at you while they're trying to make themselves.
Yeah.
So I like this idea that it just wants you to like it. I mean, I think that's a weird thing about a lot of these works is that they really want to be liked. They're very, so.
I love that the works want to be liked. I think we all want to be liked. Yeah. Gina, so, and I know I read somewhere that since you've moved to Newark, it's been sort of a relief because you have more space for everything to dry. And it looks like you've got a lot of room, which is fabulous. So you're known for your texture, your bold acrylics. I want to make sure everyone sort of is looped into your, how you kind of put what you use, your materials. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I use acrylic, like heavy acrylic. I guess you could say it's like medium, but it's really like acrylic paint without pigment for a lot of it. And then I build it in layers, and then and then it gets pigment in the later stages. I usually do those up to about 4 feet, and then anything bigger than that, I've started to put foam first, like a whole carving process of like high density foam. and then put acrylic over that, because the large ones become so heavy if they're just paint. So I started to shift just for practicality and for expense, because, you know, a 6x6 foot painting is like, I don't know, $4,000 worth of material or something.
Wow.
So, yeah,
wow.
If it's just paint, you know. So, yeah, that's kind of the process.
I love it. Let's talk about the production expectations of a working artist. You know, you're represented by a gallery. You said your show was moved from the spring into the fall. How many pieces are we talking about, and how are you, I mean, we know the social media is your inspiration, but how are you continuing to find inspiration to generate the quantities?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great question. I keep a folder on my phone of images, and then I also have like a long list of just words and sentences and like ideas, like, you know, lips with the whatever on it. You know, I'll just write that down. And then when I'm like planning a show or a body of work, or, you know, going to make work for a group show or something like that, I kind of go back through the images and the list and kind of see like where my mind is and what I think I want to make. So I kind of go through period. I'm kind of always gathering stuff, but I'm not always working on new stuff, like, because these can take a while. So I'll just sort of plan which ones I want to work on, and then I work on those for 6 months, or however long. But then, you know, I'm still getting ideas for future things, like, while I'm doing that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So you're collecting your ideas. I think it's really interesting how your process is collection, it's visual, but then it also sounds like the words resonate with you.
Yeah.
About what you're calling the things. And I think that's different.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, it's a very visual world that we're participating in online, but it's also very verbal. You know, it's like there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of like articles you're reading. There's a lot of people tweeting stuff all day and night, you know, so there is a real like verbal narrative aspect to everything. In addition to all of the images. I don't know, those two kind of go hand in hand. Yeah.
I'm curious, and it feels like it has to be a yes. Are there any other creative outlets for Gina Beavers? I mean, you clearly are drawn to food imagery. Are you are you a chef? Are you a baker?
Oh, yeah. Well, embarrassingly, like, just use a microwave to cook things until the pandemic, and then I just started cooking.
Wow.
And like doing it, and I really love it. It's such a relief for me, because it's like there are instructions, and then you know, and it's not like cleaning, because like at the end you have something delicious, you know. Cleaning, you just like clean something to go back to where, you know, it was 2 weeks ago, and then it gets dirty again. You know, cooking is fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
anything that any specialties?
This last week I made, so I'm half Greek, and I love this dish called tara musalata.
Okay.
It's just like fish roe. It's like a fish roe spread, basically. Ooh. It's just like a caviar spread. I made that. It was really funny because I went to the grocery store and it was like, oh, I'm going to have to spend $80 on caviar to make this. But so I just like quartered the recipe, and I'm the only one that will eat it. My husband's like not interested. So I was super excited though to make that, because I haven't been to a Greek restaurant in like, you know, so long. So yeah.
Yeah. Recreating restaurant food is a gift if you can do it during the quarantine.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I love it. So cooking, is there anything, so you kind of showed us something I've been asking people anything that they've created during the quarantine, like a show and tell, but you kind of already showed us something you were working on.
Yeah. Well,
anything else?
Yeah, a lot of these are kind of, you know, I've worked on these the whole time. I am working on, let me see if I can turn the thing here. Okay, yay. Here, can you see this?
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm making, these are about 16 by 16 inches. They're all different. There are 5 of them. And I'm making them as the base of a table. They're going to be an addition. So I'm working with this company in Belgium, Case Studio, and they're going to pull from these like a mold, and then we're going to make a little cube and put glass on top of it, and it will be like a little coffee table.
So they look
cool.
Really,
thanks. They look really rough right now. They're based on an actual cube of paintings that I've done. They're a little bit, they're still very much in process, so they'll look more finished pretty soon, hopefully. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you ever would you ever paint anything in the fashion world? Any clothing? Any?
Yeah, I mean, I have made things here and there. I love clothes for sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Just
But,
had to ask.
Yeah.
To ask. So I have some questions that we want to ask everybody sort of in the final moments.
Okay.
Just, what is the first piece of art that you ever remember making?
It's really funny because I remember like 2nd or 3rd grade making a paper mache Garfield. I don't know if anybody even knows who Garfield is anymore, but it was like
I do.
It was like a glass soda bottle with paper mache on it. And the thing I remember about it was like, I would think about it at night. Like we only went to art like once a week, but I was like obsessed about it at night, like think about my piece and what I was going to do with it. And I like got in trouble with my teacher because I would constantly be like, I want to go to the art room and look at it. Like while it was like in process, I was like obsessed with this. And actually I don't think that a paper mache Garfield is like really that far off from what I'm making now. So, you know, like it's kind of in the zone. So yeah.
That's really funny. But that you knew early on, you had a passion. Yeah. What is your favorite piece of art that you don't own?
Oh, that's a really difficult question.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I love this piece. I don't know if you know this piece by Lee Bonteque. Let's see if I can you see the where I'm painting it on my face? It's in the MoMA collection. She was a really amazing artist. This piece, I think, was from like 67, maybe. And she used canvas and welded these like structures and stretched them with like wire and thread. They're just so amazing. And they're 3-dimensional. They like come off the wall.
I love how you take paintings and apply them to unlikely surfaces. I saw you the manicure with the Mona Lisa on the finger. Similar. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just because it turns it on its side and makes you reimagine it.
Thank you. Yeah. I use it kind of as a way to talk about how much I think about painting and art, you know, and I'm a fan, you know, I'm a fan too. You want
it on your cheek. You'd like that to be your rouge.
Yeah.
What is okay, maybe this is an easier question. What is your favorite piece of art that you actually own?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky to have a bunch of stuff that I've traded with friends. But probably my favorite piece is my mom. My mom is a painter. She was an art teacher for a long time. And I have one of her paintings. It's an abstraction. It's kind of a grid. And the title of it is like a door left open for Rothko or something like that. Like she's like trying to show Rothko what his next steps should be. So there's like a real like ballsiness about it.
Wow.
And it hangs above my bed. I just like I love having that. Yeah. So
that's an incredible answer, and that is very bold. And I think so we are, gosh, you are so good at this that we're right on time. It's awesome. I want to ask you one last question, which is, if you could finish the sentence, art is important because.
Well, I think that it's art is kind of this amazing convergence of your brain and your heart, and it encompasses everything. So like if you hang out with artists, our conversations will talk about everything from relationships to politics to, you know, the history of art to really intellectual things, really emotional things, you know, like I think that's the fact that it can be so open and accommodate so many different kinds of work and people and ideas and histories, then also be so emotionally satisfying in all these ways. So it's like the heart and the head for me. That combination is like important.
Wow. I feel so honored to have been able to chat with you and to bring this conversation to the art news world, Gina.
Thank you so much for asking me. I really appreciate it. It was really fun.
Really, really fun. Well, this video will be warehoused on the IGTV of Art News. So everybody, if you weren't able to log in, well, I guess you're not hearing me right now if you're not logged in, but you will see this on Art News. Gina Beavers, incredible artist, taking inspiration from social media. Great to have you here today, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. You too. Stay healthy too. Bye.